Hey, I'm part of a community whose mission it is to make AI more accessible. And that means sharing knowledge and running events and building tools to make AI something that everyone can understand and use. One of the projects in the community is an app that lets people without any coding knowledge build AI tools that do unique and special things. All you need is the ability to tell a good output from a bad output for a particular use case. And if you can do that, you can make truly intelligent and creative systems by teaching AI to have new skills. How cool is that? So today I'm going to do a quick demo inside this app. Together we're going to build a very simple AI tool from scratch that can correct my spelling, comment on my grammar from the perspective of Mrs. Edwards, my sassy high school English teacher back in the day, and also convert my plain English into colorful Shakespearean English. And then we're also going to plug this AI tool we built into Google Sheets so we can have our AI tool work with lots of data. And we're going to release the ability as an API that anyone can use. And we're going to do all that in under 15 minutes. If that sounds fun, stick around. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to make an app and let's call it Wordsmith. The first thing we need to do is add our first ability. And I'm going to add an ability that is unique. And we're going to call it fix my spelling. And our input is going to be a sentence, and our output is going to be a corrected sentence. Whoops. Need to fix my spelling on this. Now, the way to train an AI ability is to show it what to do. So we're going to add some training data, and we're going to say to it, when I give you a sentence, a bad sentence, I want you to give me a fixed sentence, and it'll sort of figure out how to do that. So the input sentence is going to be, imagine a world where everyone has the Okay, so we've given it one training example. And funnily enough, that might actually be enough for our AI system to have understood the task. So now I'm going to give it a run. And I'm going to put in a sentence and see how it manages to correct it. So my sentence is, and there's our corrected sentence. So we've built an AI ability that can correct our spelling. Now that's pretty cool, but let's say I want to actually get better at spelling. I don't want the AI to just fix my spelling. I want it to show me what I did wrong. So let's make a new ability. I'm going to call this one show my spelling errors. And let's make it a teacher. My input's going to be a sentence, and my output is going to be corrections and fixed sentence. Cool, now let's give it some training. So for this training, I'm going to use the same example. Let me just copy paste it. And now let's show our corrections. So imagine. All right. So now we have two output fields, corrections and fixed sentence. So let's give that a run and see what happens. Okay, so here we go. There's a whole bunch of corrections, which is pretty cool. I do notice there's a bit of a bug here. So it said that really and out and from. It's sort of given me corrections even if there are no corrections. So that's quite interesting. I think maybe this ability needs more than one example. So we're just going to learn from this run. And I'm going to correct it a little bit. So that shouldn't be there, and that shouldn't be there. I think that looks right. Okay, let's try once more. Okay, I'm gonna try use like that just to see what happens. I don't know if that one's gonna work, but let's see. Okay, awesome. So it has learnt now that I don't want it to show corrections for words that don't need correcting, and it looks pretty good. Right, so that's our second ability. Now our app can fix spelling and show spelling errors. But we're pretty used to autocorrect and that kind of thing, so let's build something that's a bit more fun. I'm gonna add something, and since we're doing bad spelling, I'd like to have my old English teacher, Mrs. Edwards, comment on um, how how bad my spelling is. So we're still gonna put in a sentence, and we're gonna output a judgment. Okay, let's add some training. Okay, so let's start with that one, which we've done already. What would she say? She'd be like, "Good Lord, there's so many errors in this sentence. You may as well have typed it on an old Nokia." Yeah, it sounds kind of like her. So because I want this AI Mrs. Edwards to have a broad personality, I'm going to add a couple of training examples just to get her reaction trained in different scenarios. So let's do one where someone's bad spelling is kind of expected. I have diarrhea. Okay, her judgment would be I give this sentence B minus. C plus probably would be more. Although no, you did it phonetically, so let's go with the B minus. Let's be encouraging. Okay, and then maybe one more. I want an example where she totally loves the sentence and the spelling. So I'm going to pull in a Shakespeare quote. And what would she say to that? Cool, I think that's enough. Let's give it a test and see what it does. So what would Mrs. Edwards say to the sentence? This is a great motivational quote, but I'm docking you points for the atrocious spelling. I love it. So that is Mrs. Edwards. I think it's pretty cool. So something I like to do once I've got an ability to sort of good enough is to start using it, and then you'll eventually find little edge cases where it doesn't quite do the thing you want, and you can always just look at your runs and learn from them to make it better. But that's something that tends to happen over time. You can't really nail it right in the beginning always. Okay, so now we're starting to get quite a cool AI app. One more thing I'd like to do is add an ability that turns whatever I say into something like Shakespeare. So let's go with, what's a good Shakespeare emoji? Okay, my input's going to be a sentence, and my output's going to be how Shakespeare would say it. So this is quite an interesting one. I want to reverse engineer. I suck at writing things in Shakespearean language, so I'm just going to grab a couple of Shakespearean phrases, and then I'm going to put the reverse, the input sentence in. So I found a random website, and this is a quote. "My lord, I will not undergo this sneap without reply." And then I had to do some web searches to understand, but this means I won't accept this criticism without responding, sir. I think that's a pretty good reverse engineering. And let's add a few more. "For thou art pleasant, gamesome, passing courteous, but slow in speech." So I had to do some more web search. "You seem nice, happy, and considerate, but you talk slowly." I think that might be a bit of an insult. It might be, "but you're dumb." But let's keep it like that. And one more. Like stones of worth, they thinly placed are, or Captain Jewels in the carcanet. I hope I said that right. So I had to look up carcanet, and that means a necklace. So what would the English version of this be? I mean, the plain English. They're so carefully placed. Like valuable stones or Captain Jewels. I think that's non-translatable in a necklace. Okay, so I think we've taught it how to translate into Shakespearean, so let's give it a try. I don't think it's worth going to the zoo. It bores me quite a lot, and I feel bad for the animals. I reckon not going to the zoo is a good thing, for it wearies me very much, and I have compassion for the beasts. It's so cool. Okay, so now we have 4 awesome AI abilities, and you might be asking, cool, well, this is really cool, but how can I use these? I don't want to have to come into this app just to use it. Well, 2 things. So the one is there is an API here. You have your own API key, and it is possible to run these abilities from anywhere on the internet. Just bear in mind that since we're using GPT-3 here, you must go through an approval process if you're going to publish this to the world, but it's fine to use for personal use. So an app that you're probably quite familiar with is Google Sheets. So over here I can copy the app script, which will let me talk to my ability from inside a sheet. So here we are in Sheets. I've loaded up a bunch of sentences that I want to run through my abilities. So let's install the script that we just copied. I'm going to go Extensions, App Script, and I'm going to paste the script in here, and I'm going to run it. And the first time you run it, you need to give permission to the script to run, so I'm going to do that quick. All it wants to do is connect to an external service, which is our AI abilities. Okay, so now we should be able to run this script. You don't actually need to worry about the code too much. And to check that it works, I'm just going to go equals AI. All right, so here we can see the abilities we have. Fix my spelling, which takes a sentence and gives a corrected sentence. Show my spelling errors, be Mrs. Edwards, and talk like Shakespeare. So let's run these through. I've got some pretty bad spelled sentences over here, so let's do fix my spelling. Just do that. Cool, it's fixed it. And let's just run them all through. So what's really interesting is how well it's managed to pick up that we're doing spell corrections. And I'm pretty impressed. So this is fucking cool. Not bad. And then I've also got some sentences here that didn't have errors just to see what would happen. And this one seems a bit weird. It seems to have removed some words. If Twitter did ever end up representing the real world, if Twitter ever represented the real world. This is actually a Naval quote. So I just want to fix that one. So I'm going to go back to fix my spelling and look at my runs. And just correct it. So, I mean, it should just be exactly the same. And let's rerun that one. Cool. And then there's a bit of a bug on this one. I'm just going to rerun it as well. Cool. So as I pointed out, sometimes you just got to fine tune the thing once you start using it in the real world. So that's our spelling fixer. Let's do show errors, show my spelling errors. Okay, so this is not doing what I wanted it to do, but I notice here that my spelling errors puts out a fixed sentence. And if I think about it, it makes sense because we actually have 2 outputs. We have corrections and fixed sentence, and the script just uses the last output by default, but we can fix that. Let's go into our script. And I want this to return corrections instead. Awesome. Let's run it through all of them. So this is super cool. I guess I've sort of turned it into a grammar error by mistake. So it's basically saying that we should turn she to he, which is so interesting in terms of like AI bias. It's basically changed the whole sentence, so I'm going to fix that. Great. All right, now let's see what Mrs. Edwards would say. This sentence is an abomination and an embarrassment to the English language. You should be ashamed of yourself. Okay, she wasn't that mean, but this is hilarious. And let's see all the others. This sentence makes me want to rip my hair out. It's so full of errors. You may think this is fucking cool, but it's already just fucking terrible. Now that's Mrs. Edwards. This sentence makes me want to vomit. This is a pretty deep thought. I like it. There's no question that this is an excellent sentence. The grammar, spelling, and punctuation are all perfect. All right, so we've created my AI English teacher. And then one last thing is, let's turn these things into Shakespearean. I'm going to use the fixed spelling because I don't want to turn weird typo stuff into Shakespearean. So come on and test me, baby, is, come, try thy strength with me, love. Who cares what they said? It's your business. Turns into, what care they for what was said of thee? 'Tis thine own concernment. This is so fun. This is fucking cool. Turns into, this is most excellent. Very polite. And then the horse one. She was a gentle jade, but for the broken limb, we had to turn her to the glue pot. Let's keep going. If Twitter were to ever come to represent the real world would come to an end. Interesting that it seems like Naval is talking in almost Shakespearean then, considering it didn't change much. And then let's put a real Shakespeare quote through it and see what happens. And it continues the quote. How interesting is that? Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them. You might want to correct this to show it that no, if we give you Shakespearean, you don't add more, just say the same thing. I'm going to leave that as an exercise for future me. What's really great is that even though we've been working inside Google Sheets, we can still go through onto this app and see all of the runs and correct them if we want, or just keep track of what happened. So that's today's demo. What did you think? I think it's pretty amazing that we made a bunch of interesting AI abilities so quickly. In theory, you could now share this API with the whole world for free, or for a charge if you really want. Although, as I said, it is worth keeping in mind that since we're using GPT-3 today, there's an approval process for releasing to the public, although it's pretty fast and straightforward, but personal use you can just go ahead with. What is exciting for me is that everyone has expertise and knowledge, no matter how obscure you may think that particular expertise or knowledge is. So my question to you today is, what awesome things could you build right now? What's something you're particularly good at? Maybe it's making color palettes that match complex moods, or sense-checking legal contracts. Maybe it's telling engaging stories, or giving somebody feedback on how their words could be kinder when they speak. No matter what it is, you can build your own AI tool to do that particular thing. Now imagine you could share that with the entire world. What kind of world would we live in if every individual could benefit from the unique skills of everyone else at massive scale? The future's exciting. Anyway, if you enjoyed this demo and you'd like to get involved in our AI community, check out the video description, and also be sure to let me know in the comments what sort of tool you think I should build for the next demo. I'm going to be building several AI tools on this platform every week, and I'd love to make it something that everyone thinks is fun and interesting and is a bit of a challenge. That's it for now. Cheers.